Last month, we reviewed this Realme 10 Pro Plus and gave it praise for providing substantial upgrades without making it too expensive. Given how fast manufacturers release mid-range phones in a year, it's not surprising to see new competitors in the smartphone world after another month has passed. 2 months later, Realme 10 Pro Plus has now become a worthy buy to a tricky buy. That's thanks to the arrival of the upper mid-range king Poco F5 and Poco F5 Pro. But before we get started, here's a short message from today's sponsor. Check out this Dare You A950 from BZ Future, and I've been enjoying it as my new daily mouse for my desktop. Like most wireless gaming mice, it supports 2.4 GHz connection, USB-C wired connection, and Bluetooth connection. The DPI support for wired and 2.4 GHz goes up to 6400, while Bluetooth goes up to 1600. But the real star here is the charging base that connects to your PC via USB-C. This charging base basically doubles as a stand for the mouse. Other than the fact that it glows in RGB, it has a USB port for the dongle for better signal and faster connectivity. And last but definitely not least, the mouse easily attaches magnetically to the stand to charge. Although the battery lasts up to 30 days in Bluetooth and 12 days in 2.4 GHz, this rids off the hassle of charging this mouse with a cable. You can get a Dare You A950 from BZ Features website store, wherein they're offering a 15% exclusive discount for those who will use our code REN15 upon checkout. If you're not looking for a mouse, they also have gaming headsets, keyboards, gamepads, and other gaming PC accessories. Just visit the links below to learn more. Thank you BZ Features for sponsoring this video. Let me start first with the current pricing position of these phones. Realme 10 Pro Plus comes in two variants, one with 8GB and 128GB and the other with 12GB RAM and 256GB storage. On the flip end, the Poco F5 starts at a slightly higher price point but with double the storage already. The top variant with more RAM is slightly less expensive than Realme's top variant. If you're spending for the top model of the Realme 10 Pro Plus, 1000 more and you could grab the F5 Pro, which you pay for top tier performance. That's without factoring in the early bird sale or the frequent discounts offered by Poco. To give you my early conclusion of this 2-month review, whether you should still consider getting Realme's most expensive mid-range phone, my thoughts are, if you don't need the extra performance provided by the F5 series, as much as it's enticing to own a flagship-like performing phone, Realme 10 Pro Plus isn't a bad choice per se. You still get reliable day-to-day performance, especially if you're not a gamer, an in-display fingerprint scanner for those who always want to be ahead of the curve, and a curved OLED screen that also runs 120Hz. You also don't have to deal with the aggressive killing of background apps that results in late notifications. See, there's still a lot to love about the Realme 10 Pro Plus despite its steep competition here. Now that's out of the way, I think it's time to share my 2-month review of this phone. You know, just the different things in day-to-day experience compared to the first month. Since then, Realme pushed a couple software updates that addressed my issues, like YouTube picture-in-picture mode is now working properly. It's not transforming into square anymore. I also noticed fewer stutters in the UI. The experience is a bit smoother than before. However, some things never change, just like how Realme aggressively stays at 90Hz in most apps and use cases. Whenever I hit restart or whenever there's a software update to be installed, I need to override the peak refresh rate through a third-party app called SetEdit, which is an extra step I'm willing to do for consistency. Always on display is still bugged. I have yet to see a single info or notification icon. The battery life is still great. I think it's now the longest lasting phone, besting even the Honor X9A. To give you some context, I had this phone at 100% before our 6-hour trip. I was mainly watching 1080p videos followed by social media scrolling and a few photos to capture the trip while connected to Wi-Fi 100% of the time. By nighttime, I had around 60% battery. On the second, third days of the trip, the phone was left idle while connected to the internet. By the fourth day of the trip in the afternoon, I resumed watching videos since we were traveling home already. I had around 51% when we left for home. When we arrived, I had 10% left. I guess that tells about the great battery life of this phone. Now, I usually use two wireless earbuds, and I can help but notice Realme's Real Sound technology whenever I have my earbuds on. Basically, this feature adapts and adjusts based on what you're listening to for a better experience, in theory. However, that's not the case with my two wireless earbuds, which sounded great when paired with other phones by the way. I guess Real Sound Technology tried its best to mimic or imitate a stereo setup but ended up downgrading the quality, clarity, and even the loudest level of the audio. As for the stereo speakers, I feel like the quality has started to sound stale. For a stereo speaker setup, it has disappointed me in terms of loudness and quality. It has become difficult for me to hear what the video is saying unless I'm in a really quiet room or environment. For the cameras though, Realme 10 Pro Plus tends to consistently output inconsistent looking photos. Don't get me wrong, the sharpness and quality are always there, but the actual look of the colors and the level of brightness always vary from time to time. Sometimes you get bright photos, sometimes they're dark, sometimes they're in focus, sometimes you're not. Sometimes HDR kicks in, and other times HDR doesn't kick in. The only thing consistent here is the bright output you get when using night mode, and I think that's a good thing. Oh, and if you're worried about China ROM not working properly here in the Philippines, well, this is your evidence. Even after a major software update, this Realme 10 Pro Plus non-global ROM still works like a global ROM. I never had any type of problem with reception, speed, calls, and texting. The same goes for Google-based apps. So that's it for Realme 10 Pro Plus 2 months later. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But that's it for this one. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel, and as always, until the next one, stay safe.